Welcome to aminacademy.com. In astronomy, let us discuss about phases and motion of the moon. As the stars appears to move westward because of the Earth's daily rotation and its annual motion about the sun, so the moon slowly moves eastward, rising later each day and passing through its phases, new first quarter and full last quarter and new again each month. It's happened the cycle. After the sun, the moon is the brightest and most obvious object in the sky. Unlike the sun, it does not shine under its own power but merely glows with reflected sunlight. If you were to follow its progress in the sky for a month, you would observe a cycle of phases, that is, different appearances, with a moon starting dark and getting more and more illuminated by sunlight over the course of about 2 weeks. After the moon's disk becomes fully bright, it begins to fade, returning to dark about 2 weeks later. These changes fascinated and mystified many early culture, which came up with the marvelous stories and legends of to explain the cycle of the moon. Even in the modern world, many people did not understand what causes the phases, thinking that they are somehow related to the shadow of Earth. Let us see how the phases can be explained by the motion of the moon relative to the bright light sources in the solar system, the sun. We'll discuss about lunar phases. Although we know that the sun moves 1/12 of its path around sky each month. That means totally 12 months in the year, 1 by 12th of the path around the sky for each month. For purposes of explaining the phases, we can assume that the sun's light comes, comes from roughly the same direction during the course of a 4-week lunar cycle. The moon, on the other hand, moves completely around the earth in the time. As we watch the moon from our vantage point of the earth, how much of its face we see illuminated by sunlight depends on the angle of the sun makes with the moon. Here, simple experiment. That is, you are in the outside of the dark room. Inside the dark room, there is a illuminated light. That is a bulb. Now, your head can be represent Earth, the light represent the sun, and the ball is the moon. That means you are keeping a ball in front of your head. Move the ball around you, around your head, making sure you don't cause the ellipse by blocking the light with your head. That means you should not block the light by your hand. You will see phases just like those of the moon and the ball. Let's examine moon's cycle of phases, which depicts the moon's behavior for the entire month. This is the entire phases of the moon. Now let us discuss further about the new moon. This is the invisible face of the moon with the illuminated side of the moon facing the sun and the night side of facing earth. In this phase, the moon is in the same part of the sky as the sun and rises and sets with the sun. Next, waxing crescent. This silver of moon occurs when the illuminated half of the moon faces mostly away from the earth, with only a tiny portion visible to us from our planet. First quarter. In first quarter, the moon is now a quarter of the way through its monthly journey, and you will see half of its illuminated side. People may casually call this as a half moon, but remember, that's not really what you are witnessing in the sky. You are seeing just a slice of the entire moon. That is half of the illuminated half. The first quarter, moon rises around noon and sets around midnight. It's high in the sky in the evening and makes the excellent viewing. This is the first quarter moon. Next is waxing gibbous. Now, most of the moon's day side has come into view and the moon appears brighter in the sky. This is a waxing gibbous. The waxing gibbous. Full moon. Full moon, this is as close as we come to seeing the sun's illumination of the entire day side of the moon. So technically this would be the real half of moon. The moon is opposite to the sun as viewed from earth, revealing the moon's day side. A full moon rises around the sunset and sets around the sunrise. Look at here, a full moon rises around the sunset and sets around the sunrise. The moon will appear full or couple of days before it moves into other phases. Waning gibbous. Waning gibbous as the moon begins its journey back around the sun. As the moon begins its journey back towards the sun is called a waning gibbous. The opposite side of the moon now reflects the moon's light. The lighted side appears to shrink, but the moon's orbit is simply carrying it out of view from our perspective. The moon rises later and later each night. Last quarter. The moon looks like it's half illuminated from the perspective of Earth, but really you are seeing half of the moon that's illuminated by the sun, that is a quarter. A last quarter moon, also known as the third quarter moon, rises around midnight and sets around noon. Waning crescent. The moon is nearly back to the point in its orbit where its day side directly faces the sun, and all that we see from our perspective is thin curve like a waning crescent. Our OB moon, when we think of the way the moon seems to change over the course of month, we think of phases, but frequent moon observers know that the moon also appears to twist, nod and roll slightly during its journey across the sky, allowing us to peek around the moon's shoulder and catch glimpses of the fair side. This phenomenon is called libration. Thanks for Science NASA. Go moon phases. Now, the moon is said to new when it is in the same general direction in the sky as the sun. That is, the moon is actually 30 Earth diameters away from us. That means that is moon is actually 30 Earth diameter, 30 times Earth diameter away from us. This is very important cases when frequently that same things happen. So far we discussed moon, about the moon's phases and motion of its moon. So far somewhat we discussed about phases and motion of the moon. We can you may understand, and in future videos we will discuss about this more and more. We have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.